Hey guys, Coach Kim, and happy Thursday. So I wanted to hop on here really quickly and chat with you guys about the difference between hunger and cravings and how to beat some of the cravings and kind of combat that. So first of all, the difference between hunger and cravings. Hunger is broad. Hunger is, hey, are you hungry enough to eat an apple, a chicken breast, some veggies? If the answer is yes, go ahead and eat them and track for them. That's usually a physiological sign of hunger. Okay, so cravings are much more specific. They're usually tied to an emotion. So they're usually tied to stress, anxiety, and boredom is a big one. What I mean by specific is I'm hungry for some chips. I'm hungry for ice cream. I'm hungry for pizza. I'm hungry for a Snicker bar, whatever it is, right? They're very specific and nothing will kind of cure it but that specific thing. So once you recognize, all right, am I hungry or is this a craving? Cravings are usually tied to wanting a dopamine hit. Okay, we want to be distracted from this emotion that's going on right now, whether it is stress, anxiety, or boredom. They're the big ones. And boredom is the one that hits usually after dinner before bedtime, which is a very common time. So if you're like, wow, yeah, I'm usually hungry after dinner. It's usually not hunger at all. It is usually a craving. Now, sometimes it can be a habit that's been built since you were a child, right? Bedtime snack. And because habits are built over time. And we don't just get rid of habits by snapping our finger and saying, I don't want that habit anymore. We have to create a different habit. And I'll give you some tricks for that as well. But if you discover, yeah, you know what, this is a craving that I'm having, then you can kind of delve into that. Here are a few things that just to consider and some maybe healthy swaps for that. So first of all, I think the biggest thing to do when you recognize that you do have a craving, there's lots of science around this, is set a timer on your phone for like 10 minutes. Most cravings are going to pass within 3 to 5 minutes. So in that 10 minutes, you're going to sit there, remind yourself of your why. Why did you get started? Why do you want to drop weight? Why do you want to get healthier? Why do you want to be able to walk into your closet, put anything on and feel like $1 million, right? Why are you on this journey to become, just more fit and more healthy? And then you should be able to pull up that image of yourself at your goal. And that's why I ask you to have crystal clear visual of what you're working for, because it's really, really hard to work hard for something that you're not clear on. If you cannot visualize yourself at your goal, it's going to be really hard to, turn away from those cravings. All right. So pull up that image. Now, some may say, drink a glass of water. This is not where I want you to drink that glass of water, because I don't want you to distract yourself from what you're feeling. I want you to recognize that cravings are normal. Cravings are human response to emotions. One of the greatest coping skills that we have on the planet is food, because it's readily available and we have to eat. So it's very, very common to have food as the coping skill. So sit there in that 10 minutes and feel the feelings and recognize, you know what? I can live through this. It's just a craving. And guess what? After doing this for 3 minutes, I didn't even want it anymore. Once I tied into what are the feelings that I'm feeling? What are the emotions that I'm feeling right now? And then you take the power away from the craving and you put it back in your court where you definitely want it to stay. All right. Now, the other thing that you can do is, all right, thirst does camouflage itself as hunger often. So make sure that you're hydrated. Drink a glass of water once that 10 minutes is up. Maybe you are craving something salty and crunchy. Maybe a pickle will do it. Maybe some cucumbers with some fresh sea salt on them will do it. That's crunchy. It's salty. It might alleviate that. And it's just a much healthier choice that's not going to trigger more cravings. So a lot of processed food, especially that combination of processed sugar, flour, and salt, it's like the trifecta that, get your brain just wanting more and more and more of it. That's why when you start your day with things like, a bagel with, cream cheese on it and all this kind of stuff, you're craving carbohydrates for the rest of the day. Protein also will help kind of alleviate cravings for sugar. Whole foods alleviates cravings for sugar because it's not often that we're walking around craving broccoli. We're not often going, oh my gosh, I need an apple and I need it right now. So if we stay above it and we stay satisfied with proteins and fiber from whole foods, you're going to notice that your cravings are less and less and less. All right. For a sugar craving, it may be you want ice cream. Well, maybe you go and you grab some yogurt. You might want to put protein in it or not, doesn't matter. Put some berries in it, whip it together, make it smooth, throw it in your freezer, and now you have a much healthier version of protein or of ice cream that's going to keep you on track. All right. Now, I don't want to demonize food. Remember, you're not in a calorie deficit forever. In calorie deficits, it is a little more challenging to keep those types of foods coming in on a regular basis if you want to progress forward. All right. But remember, you're not always in a calorie deficit. You won't always be in a calorie deficit. And the more you put in the work here, the sooner you're going to get to that maintenance level where we raise your calories. Now, I think it is important to recognize that if you say, I can't have this because I'm on a diet, that sits very different than I can have it if I want to, but I'm choosing not to because this is what I want more than anything. It's reflecting on what do I want right now versus what do I want most of all. And if you want something, schedule it into your plan. Like, being low on sleep, being stressed out, and being unplanned and putting in a frozen pizza where you go off track and you don't feel very good about it, that's not going to feel or taste better than, you know what? I'm planning to have a pizza night where I'm going to enjoy my pizza. It's going to be in 2 Fridays from now, and I'm going to stick to my plan up until then, and I'm going to enjoy every bite of it, right? That's going to feel a whole lot better, and we can work it right into your plan. But just recognize that, you can't have everything you want whenever you want and continue to move forward. So making those plans, it's a really good way to say, okay, I can work these still into my life and into my lifestyle. And that's the most important thing. You don't want to demonize food because I think especially as adults, if somebody tells us we can't have something, that's all we think about and that's all we want. And we're not going to be satisfied until we have it. So we might as well have a little bit of it. And sometimes it's a matter of, instead of having the big family bag of chips, maybe you're buying the little single serving bags and you're putting them someplace that they're not in bird's eye view every single time you walk by the kitchen. And every single time you open the pantry, they're not right there. Maybe they're tucked back away. So if you do have that moment, by the time you get to the bottom of that single serving bag, you're feeling fairly satisfied and your brain is saying, hey, I'm done with the serving, versus the family size bag that your brain may not shut off until you're done with the whole full family size bag. If you want a little bit of dessert at night, plan it in. Make that be the very first thing you put in. An example of this is Girl Scout cookies, right? We just went through Girl Scout cookie time. There is a way for you to have a Girl Scout cookie every single day if you want to, by pre-tracking it, putting it in there first, and backing the rest of your calories out. So don't ever think that, oh my gosh, I can't have something because it's just going to mess you up here. All right. So protein, fiber, it'll fill you up more. And I think one of the, another really great thing to do is just write down other things that make you feel good when you are stressed, when you do have anxiety. Going out for a walk is a great distraction. Remember, exercise is the only way to naturally increase serotonin and dopamine, your feel good and your get it done hormone. That might be, if you know your witching hour is always right after dinner and before bedtime, make a new bedtime ritual. Maybe it's, you know what? That's when I'm going to go out for a walk every single night. You're going to get some extra steps in. It's going to distract you, get you out of the house, so you're not around where you're thinking about it. Sometimes the trigger is when you sit down on the couch at the end of the night and turn on the TV. right? If you've been doing that for forever and every single time you do that, you have a snack in your hand, guess what your brain's going to tell you? Where's your snack? So sometimes it's about mixing things up. Don't sit where you normally sit. Go do something different. Maybe it's, I'm going to go brush and floss my teeth because nothing tastes as great right after you brush and floss your teeth right after dinner. This is one of the things that I do. After dinner, I brush and floss my teeth. It makes it so I'm not snacking from the time I'm done with dinner to the time I go to bed. It's usually when I go take a hot shower. That's my bedtime ritual. After dinner, I go for my walk, I brush and floss my teeth, I take a hot shower, and now my brain is saying it's time for bed. I am going to interrupt the old habits with new habits. Habits don't go away because you want them to. You have to create a different, new, healthier habit. Okay, so what I want you to work on this week when a craving happens is just don't react, don't respond. Have some self-control, set the timer. Impulse control is the superpower of you reaching your goals. The superpower of it. Don't react, pause, observe, figure out what you're feeling, and then choose what you want most of all. And even if by setting that timer, you are only choosing better 50% of the time, that's 50% more than you're doing right now. So if you have any questions or further questions on this, just let me know. If there's any other subjects that you want me to cover, let me know. And I hope you guys have a great day, great week. And here's to, looking those cravings in the eye and just saying, you know what? They're normal, they're natural, and I want to keep the power, and I'm going to choose what is going to align with my goals. And sometimes that is going to the ice cream place and having the ice cream cone, or lining up the pizza night, or lining up, having that glass of wine on a Friday. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no wrong answer, and that's your superpower. All right, just make it work within your goals. And if you let me know, hey, you know what? I really need this sometime here. Let's put it in your plan. Have a great day, great week.